Good evening, everybody. This is Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast, and tonight we have a special guest from the CWF, from the Christian Wrestling Federation. He is known as the Interdenominational Champion. He's the longest reigning CWF Interdenominational Champion. He claims to be the strongest professional wrestler this side of drug test, and he is the Guardian. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, and I just for clarification, it's my manager that claims I'm the strongest professional wrestler this side of a drug test.
All right. Hey, I mean, you got that title. So, we're getting right into it. So, as a kid, I used to watch a lot of wrestling, so I don't know if that's what you did, but what was the moment you decided, you know what, I'm going to become a wrestler?
It's kind of funny. I grew up watching wrestling a little bit, but I was never, I guess as a kid you dream about having that wrestling ring in your backyard and all that. But as far as wanting to do it, I had looked into it once and was like, yeah, no, that's not me. I'd actually joined the CWF as the ministry first, and was the cameraman. And honestly, sitting there watching how the kids and the fans interacted with the wrestlers, nobody cared about the cameraman. And I finally said, you know what, I think maybe this is something I can try. And I gave it a shot. At 36 years old, getting into the business, I wasn't sure, but it was time to either put up or shut up at that time.
Nice though. I heard that you were a retired police officer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't say retired, but yes, former law enforcement. It's been 18 years, and it's a beating of a job, and it's a tough job. You see things, and just 18 years worth kind of took me into the dumps, and I struggled there for a while with PTSD, and decided to leave, and it was really the best decision that I had made for not only myself but my health and my family and everything. So, scary to do it when you got 18 years in and you can keep going and retire, but ultimately I probably would not even be alive right now, honestly, if I stayed in there. Wow. Just with the way the body and everything was starting to break down just from the mental stress of it.
I bet. So now you're currently in a Bible college, correct?
I am. I currently go to Liberty University online program. I'm about a year and a half into that. I got about a year and a half left, getting biblical studies diploma and everything. So that's something that I started, I guess, a year and a half ago, but it's been very interesting to actually dig into the Bible the way that we have and learn more about it than just the kids' Bible stories that we heard when we were kids.
Right. So now you talk about kids. I heard that you love working and mentoring kids. Can you talk to us about what that does and what that means in your life and etc.?
Yeah, I actually, the 18 years I was in law enforcement, I was in the school district, and so dealt with a lot of good and bad of kids, but constantly saw the bad, and not the bad kids per se, but the bad things that happen to kids. That's always been drawn to them. And then when I got out of that, I just felt called to kids. I was a youth pastor for about 2 years. Recently left that and just kind of focusing on school and my own child. But, these kids today, we can talk bad about them all we want, but they just have it rough. It's not like it was when we were there. And there's not very many people that'll stop long enough to talk to them, mentor them, and show them the right way versus talk about them, about how obnoxious they may be, as they're walking by.
Right. No, that's what, I was reading this about you and stuff like that. And my heart is along with your heart. My wife and I were in a youth ministry up in Michigan for like 5 years. We were the youth directors, and then the season just dried up and there was no more youth for some reason. And we had prayer with, we talked to God, hey, what's our next step? And he led us into this ministry that they call foster care, and you have to have a heart for, you see everything, you hear about everything, and you're right. You did say it. You're right. They didn't have it like we did.
Right.
So, I mean, we just got 2 new kids in today. They were here before, now they're back, and you're like, your heart breaks for them. So I can just imagine you're working with the youth in the CWF ministry and stuff like that. So I applaud you, sir, for doing that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that kind of keeps me active with the kids is the CWF kids division we have now. Every Sunday night, we train kids to be professional wrestlers, and they have their own shows. And right now we have about 25 in there, and it's really cool to watch them not only grow as a wrestler, but to watch them grow in their faith and just responsibility and just taking care of each other. Because that's one thing we do require is there's no laughing or making fun of anybody. We're going to encourage them and get them through it, because not everybody's the same level as the other. So I get to still fulfill that. And I'm not done with youth or youth ministry. I just taken a break here to kind of focus on family and some other things. But yeah, the kids are my life.
Awesome, man. So do you train right at the CWF arena, or do you train somewhere else, or did you train somewhere else?
No, I trained. I did all my training there. Went through the wrestling school there. All the training there, and that's why I'm a little different. I got into it for CWF, the ministry, as well as the wrestling, and I'm not an indie jumper. I don't go hit the circuits out there. I legitimately wrestle, for CWF, and it's not just wrestling, as you know from last week, but
right.
I take pride in being a leader there, and the new guys that are coming in, try to guide them along. Not so much in the wrestling, which I do, but as we have some really, really seasoned vets, I try to minister and disciple more than the wrestling training for them per se. But yeah.
So you trained, and then you're essentially a trainer, correct?
Yeah, I trained with them, and now I don't do. I mean, I help throw in some advice during training, but I am myself and Ryan Hart, but I kind of take the lead on the kids training. I do all the training for the kids, and when we do birthday parties, I usually host those and things like that.
So now, how important? I mean, is it? I mean, we'd love to see the kids listen and pay attention and learn from there, and as well, how important is it for guys like you to also listen to and get help or get guidance on what you're doing? In your opinion, how important is that?
I think it's important. It's not only in wrestling, but it's in life. I think that we should be open to criticism. The sad thing about it is some of the criticism out there is, even though it's criticism, it's kind of putting somebody down. There's a way that you can build people up, and I think it's important to for everybody to be open-minded. And say, hey, I know you did this, but maybe think about doing that, whatever, and just have an open mind. One of the biggest things that we all face in this business, luckily we don't deal with too much in CWF, is pride and egos and things like that. And so, I think across the board, whether it be wrestling, whether it be life or whatever, I think everybody should be open-minded to at least listen to make a change.
Okay. So how do you feel when the public doesn't really understand what you guys are doing in CWF or any other promotion, and all the risks all the heart that you pour out? Do you ever get any kickback that they don't understand, and how does that make you feel when they don't?
Yeah, it's I mean, you probably talk about it every time. It's common to hear that wrestling's fake.
All the time.
Wrestling is anything but fake. Yeah, I have some broken bones, good pictures of swollen eyes, and I just got cleared. Actually, last week I was afraid I was going to have shoulder surgery. Luckily, I do not. But that part of it, I try not to let it get to me. When somebody says, yeah, wrestling's fake, I just kind of laugh and say, yeah, it's fake. Let me show you. Then they don't want to let me hit them, right. But they say it's fake, as far as the other stuff, our promotion ministry is a little different because, obviously it's a Christian based promotion. And so you do get, we'll get booked at a church or something, and we'll see comments that, how can you be Christian and you're out there condoning violence? Well, it's not really condoning violence. It's entertainment. Right. So the biggest thing, whether it was in my job, before or even this, the biggest advice I can ever give somebody is don't read the comments. That's usually where you go wrong.
Right. No, you're right, dude. Absolutely, 100%. I think it was your tag partner last week that used the analogy of figure skating. They made a figure skating similar just to like wrestling, that you have these moves you do. You have to trust the partner, to trust the person you're in the ring with. They're going to throw her up in the air, going to catch her, all these. So if that's not fake, so neither is wrestling. So that was a good analogy. Yeah. So.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
How does your family and friends feel about what you're doing through the ministry, even in the ring? How do they support you? How's that going?
Oh yeah. So I'm married, going on 18 years. She loves it. It's crazy. I think she truly does enjoy that I do it. Now, she threatens me all the time. If you do one more stupid thing, or if you have to have surgery, you're done. And I just kind of giggle and keep going. But ultimately, you go. I'm sure everybody goes through it, but you go through some burnout every once in a while. And I had gone through that, and she was the one that's like, no, you love that too much. Just, deal with it. And then of course I have a 15-year-old son. He absolutely loves it. He's one of our cameramen now. And all of my family, friends, some of them don't get it and some of them don't care, which is fine because not everybody cares about wrestling in and of itself. But overwhelmingly, it's always fun to look out at a show and see so many of my family members or friends out there.
Yeah. So you talked about, getting hurt and stuff. Am I right? You had a stroke here a little bit ago, if I heard right.
Yeah, that's why I kind of got out of my law enforcement job. It was, I guess we're looking at 4 years ago. It was on Valentine's Day. I was at work, and it had been stressful, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I've been on blood pressure medicine since I was 18, and I quit taking it, and all that, and just the stress and life and everything else I was dealing with at the time. I was at work and got a real bad headache and knew something wasn't right, and texted my wife and told her, hey, something's wrong. I'm not sure what it is. And then, of course, I didn't want her worrying about it. So she texted me to check on me a little bit later. And I just told her I was fine. That was at 8:30 in the morning. Increasingly throughout the day, it got worse. I couldn't remember. I'd be in the middle of talking just like we are. And I would have no clue as to what I was about to say or what we're talking about. Got worse and worse. And finally, it was 1:30 in the afternoon. Finally, I had a meeting that I couldn't get out of. And I walked into the meeting, and I remember I was staring at this picture, and my boss kept talking to me, and I kept asking, what'd you say? And so he called 911, and they got me to the hospital. And man, when I got there, I think my blood pressure was like 246 over 197, something like that. Yeah, they said I was actually more lucky that I didn't have a brain bleed than anything. With the blood pressure that high, but that was a good wake-up call to me. So I don't think I've missed a day of medicine since then, and I've had zero issues since then. And he said, if you'll just control your blood pressure, you probably should never have another issue like this. So I got lucky on that one.
I'm finding out similar things, man. You and I have to talk after this. So did the stroke, was that a wake up call to you to say, oh man, I need to do something different? And did that lead you to CWF, or was CWF already part of your life?
No, CWF was not part of my life. It's kind of funny how that all played out. I had taken my son probably to 1 or 2 shows for CWF because I live here local. I'm like 3 minutes from where we do our shows and training.
Yeah.
And so I'd taken my son when he was little to a show, and but I also did a lot of training and speaking on school violence around the country. And I actually had done a training at Rob Vaughn's school, who's our founder and owner of CWF. And when I saw him, I talked to him. I said, "Hey, I know you." And so we talked that day. And at that point in my life, I was nowhere near walking with Christ. I wouldn't say I was. I've always grew up a believer, but I wasn't really walking that path and had no desire to walk that path. And he would, he'd reach out ever so often and he'd say, "Hey, why don't you come to training and Bible study?" And I was like, "Nope, not for me. Number one, y'all are a bunch of geeks that go in there and wrestle." I mean, that was truly my mindset. Number two, I don't want to do no Bible study with a bunch of dudes. But the interesting part about it is whenever I was in the hospital, Rob, who I'd met once, maybe talked to 2 or 3 times, found out and reached out to me to check on me. And there was just something about that night because my family had already gone home by that point. And when they left, I was pretty scared because I was afraid if I fell asleep, I wouldn't wake up. And just something about that night that I needed that. And so a few weeks, I guess about a week and a half after I got out of the hospital, they had a show and he invited me. And just the way that the guys that we did not know came out to meet me and everything, I was like, okay. And so he asked me if I wanted to come the next night. And I was like, oh, I guess I better do this. And man, I'll tell you what, I walked in there thinking I was going to go into a bunch of geeks trying to be wrestlers. And I walked into some dudes that legitimately have huge hearts. And at that point in my life, that's what I needed because I was definitely on the wrong path. And that's just kind of how I fell into CWF. So.
And then I began reading a little bit after that. It says you were starting to do Mick Foley stupid stuff.
Yeah, some people will say that I'm the Mick Foley of CWF.
All right, explain that, man.
I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I know I'm old, so I'm trying to get my fun in before it's too late.
There you go.
And so if it's something dangerous, dumb, or sounds like it's going to hurt, I'm all for it. I'm all for it because the way the fans react it's just awesome. So I've gone through tables from the top of the ring on through the concrete floor, broken ankle jumping off the top of some bleachers, took a kendo stick to the forehead. I mean, full force, it shattered over my head. Actually, that's what that is. I kept it.
That one right back there?
Yep. There's only one little piece left of it because it shattered right here and split me open. Black eyes. If it sounds cool and it's going to get a good pop from the crowd, I'm going to do it. And my wife always hates it. Always hates it. And nice. Sometimes I'll warn her. Sometimes I will not.
There you go. I'm not gonna talk on that one, man. So I know exactly what you're saying. 4 years of wrestling. You're now known as the strongest wrestler this side of the drug test. Can you explain what that your boss or your what's that? Where's that? Where does that come from?
That is our manager. He is quick-witted, and I don't know how he comes up with some of the things he comes up with. But it was just a travel show we did, and I can't remember if it was a travel show and he introduced or he announced it that way or if he was doing commentary on one of our shows. However, it came out of his mouth, and we just absolutely loved it. And now he says it every single time. If he's announcing me, if he's commentary, you can go back for the last 6 months in our shows, and anytime I'm out, he's going to bring it up. And so really there was nothing behind it. It was just his quick wit that came out one night. And I'm one of the much larger guys in CWF. There's, we have guys that come in, but our main roster that CWF guys, I pretty much tower over all of them. And I'm not, when I say tower over them, I'm very short. I'm not even 6 foot, but I'm built compared to what the other guys are. And so it was just we've always put me over as the big strong guy. I used to do strongman competitions, and so I like to lift the guys over my head, things like that. And it just came out of his mouth, and it stuck.
Now, do you rip the phone books in half and all that good stuff?
No, I've never ripped a phone book in half, or even really attempted it. But I've deadlifted a car, and you know, I used to love lifting heavy. I still do. It's just too many injuries that I try to protect myself from.
Right. No, in the ministry up north, we used to have Stan Strength team in there doing their thing in our church with Shrek and stuff. But he passed away, so bless his heart.
Do you remember the power team?
Yes.
Okay. So Rob was a part of the power team long before he started the CWF.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, those guys are amazing. So I mean, everything that they do. So can you describe to the fans and myself what your entrance theme is and why you picked that entrance theme?
I will have to pull up the name of it once again, real quick. I can never remember it. It's
Sida and Iridium. Iridium.
Yeah, Iridium. I'll be honest with you. I when I was getting ready to debut, I was looking all over. My whole life, I've absolutely loved the bagpipes, and being a heel, I wanted to make sure. I really wanted bagpipes included, so I was searching like YouTube, everything. I was bagpipes, rock and roll bagpipes, Celtic and when I heard that one, I knew it was it.
Nice.
And so mainly those bagpipes, when those bagpipes hits, we usually when I pull the curtain open, let it build up. But I've always wanted to learn how to play the bagpipes, but I'm not musically inclined and don't know how to play anything. So I just like to listen to them.
Okay, cool. What makes you stand out in the wrestling business as the Guardian?
Probably my size more than anything.
Okay.
And as a heel, being the Guardian, it's initially whenever I started and we came up with that gimmick, it wasn't going to be a heel, but I started in the business as a heel, and for the last 4 years, myself and Ryan Hart have been the top heels in CWF, and it's so much fun. So the Guardian really came from whenever I was getting into the business, I was still in law enforcement. And so that's kind of where it came from. And I'm more from a big boss man look to just kind of my own look now, finally.
Gotcha. What has been your proudest moment since you've been in the wrestling business with CWF?
Man, that's tough. But honestly, just a month or two ago, we did a travel show at a cowboy church. And of course, our shows, at the end of every show, we present the gospel and provide them a time for an invitation. And I led a young boy to Christ. And, when we talk to these, not only the kids, but the adults, once you do it for a while, you can kind of tell the genuineness of it. Did this kid raise his hand because everybody else did, or did this kid raise his hand because he's made a decision? And there was no doubt in my mind he had made a decision that night. Talking to his parents, he said, he's been teetering on it. He's been asking a lot of questions, and that night he made a decision. So I was able to talk to him about the next steps, and I was able to talk to him about, the big next step is baptism.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that. And as soon as we stopped and he walked away, Rob got on the mic and said, I just found out the baptismal is open for anybody that's ready to go. I turned to look at him. He had this big smile on his face. His dad said yes, so I got to go over and baptize him right after we led him to Christ. It was absolutely amazing.
That's awesome, man. So we talk about family, and you're a family guy. So how do you balance family, ministry, and wrestling all together?
Yeah, that can get tough. Now that I'm free, I have the free time that I did not have while I was a youth pastor. That's helped a lot. But as far as CWF, That's usually being gone, well, for the most part on Monday nights, and that, we're used to that. But we do have busy times and busy seasons where we're gone a lot. So I'm just always very upfront, give her, the schedule as soon as I get it, not wait. And you know what, if there is something that's going on with the family at a time we have a show or something and I can't go, I don't do it often. But if we have something going on and I can't go, then I will always stay home with the family or do whatever I need to do there. So it's actually been okay. I have a shoot job too, so that is and it's work from home, so it's not that bad. It's pretty laid back. And now having the time. So I've had some times where it's been a juggle and I'm gone a lot, but lately it's been pretty reasonable. And I try to make sure that if nothing else, she knows way in advance before I'm going to go do something.
Awesome. So, how often are you home, and what do you do in your spare time besides work? And what? Yeah.
I am home. Well, and I work from home, so I'm home a lot more than I'm gone most of the time now. And so, Monday nights we do our training and Bible study. I'm gone that night. She's a teacher. She just started back to work today. So when she's working, a lot of times I may be gone before she gets home on Mondays. But in the summer, we spent the day. But yeah, I do. I work from home. That's pretty laid back. That way I can take care of anything that's going on with my son or whatever. And then for fun, we love to fish, hunt. When we get closer to kid shows, I like to go up there and work extra sessions with them and kind of get them prepared for their show. But I'm an easygoing guy now. I used to be high strung and always like revved up before, but now I just enjoy every moment. So
nice. So, what's the plans for the Guardian's career? I mean, are you gonna go longer in wrestling? Going to be more ministry? What should we look for?
CWF. I'm gonna wrestle till my body says I can't. Okay. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm hoping that it'll be much longer than 10, 15, even 20 more years, because I just turned 40. Okay. If I can keep wrestling at least to 50, and if I keep going, then I'm going to just keep going till I can. And then as soon as my body says no more, then I'll slow down. I'll still stay within the CWF and fill another role, whatever that may be, but I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to go until my body says I can't go anymore, not till the doctor says, because the doctor tells me a lot and I don't listen to him.
Right. Don't we all? So, what kind of finisher move does the Guardian have? What should a wrestler look out for?
I have two. When I started, I was doing the power bomb a lot, jackknife power bomb. Okay. I've transitioned into a World's Strongest Slam, and sometimes that World's Strongest Slam actually starts with them pressed over my head, and I drop them into the World's Strongest Slam.
Okay. So now, do you model yourself after any wrestlers that you grew up watching, or?
Yeah, I try to be myself for the most part, but at the same time, when I was kind of learning myself versus whenever I kind of started after that first year or two, I was really watching a lot of Braun Strowman.
Okay, yeah.
Those power guys that, we can't do a whole lot, but the ones we do, we've got to make count. And so Braun Strowman, I was watching a lot of him there in that time frame. And that was the main one. I'm trying to think if there's others, but anybody big, anybody power is kind of who I've always watched to get some ideas and things from.
Okay. Do you see yourself ever thinking about, or have you ever had offers from other indie promotions to go with that, to just make a show up or whatever, or is it just
I did have one. It was a guy we knew from CWF. I wasn't able to go to that show. I don't put out anything to go. Now, I've had several promoters that have come to our shows that asked if I'd be interested. And I'll tell them, of course, I'd be willing to listen, but I don't actively go out. I don't send anything. I don't, that way I'm I'd like to stay CWF and that's it. But if there was somebody that reached out, I would consider it. I would definitely consider it. But, I'm not like a lot of the business guys to where I have that mindset of trying to make it big or, even make a lot of money out of it. I'm actually doing it as a hobby and for the ministry purposes. And as long as my body will let me, I'll just keep doing it.
Now, would Rob or any of the CWF big guys have a problem with their roster going to another show for another promotion, or is it? I think it's pretty open book.
Us or
no? Yeah. Do you allow others to go anywhere else, and do you see others?
Oh yeah. We have many wrestlers that are all over the place.
Okay.
That of course, we have Barrett Brown, who wrestles all over the country. I think he had 5 matches, 3 or 4 shows just this weekend alone.
Oh, wow.
Bam Bam, he goes all over the country. Dennis. So a lot of our guys, I would say, majority of our guys, with the exception of myself and Reinhardt, my tag partner, maybe 3 or 4 others, they're out there in the indie circuit as well.
Okay. So I imagine that you worked with some big crowds and some small crowds. In that scenario, is it harder to work with when there's hardly any people, or i.e. a dead crowd, compared to a rather involved crowd?
Yeah. Of course, your bigger crowds are a blast. We've wrestled in front of, I think there was 5,000 at this men's conference we did up in Detroit, and that was awesome. And we've wrestled in front of as little as 50. The thing about it is I go out there the same no matter what. I'll find that one fan that I can connect with. And when I connect, it's usually me like flinching at him or whatever, yelling at him,
Right.
whatever. But, some of the smaller crowds, they can be hot. Once you get them in the mood and once they realize who's bad, who's good, those small crowds can be just as fun. And those are typically when we'll end up in the crowd with our wrestling, maybe get thrown into some chairs, whatever the case may be. But yeah, is it tougher? It is. But at the same time, either way, if we're doing our job right, even if we only have 50, we should be able to get them popping.
Okay. And with that, how do you feel? What's your opinion on how important interaction with fans are during the match and at the merch table and after the match? How important is that to you guys as a whole?
As a whole, for us, it's humongous. It's really, that's why we do what we do. The interaction after the fact at the merch tables. If it wasn't for that interaction the way we do it, I probably never would have gotten the business, because like I said, watching as the cameraman, watching how they interacted with the fans after the fact, that's really what drew me in. Is you have an opportunity to really influence somebody out there, and the thing is, these guys and these girls, we can all influence them one way or the other, and so I think it's important. I think it's important across the book, even at the biggest level, that your fans are why you are who you are. Okay. Without the fans, you're nobody. Without the fans, you're just up in a squared circle on wood, and what fun is that? So I love taking the time, in our entrance, even though we're heels, it's not positive interaction. It's usually scary interaction, but I'm always going to, interact with the fans in the match. And then after, I come out and we're going to sit and talk and laugh. And some of those kids are absolutely terrified of me. and we have to kind of say, hey, it's okay. But I was watching a video today that we just saw from when we were in Louisiana, and this kid, they love to run their mouth, and then whenever I stop and I'll flinch at them or something, kids will almost flip over their seats, and I love watching that after the fact.
Absolutely. So I work with kids, so I'm going to give you like probably 10 quick shoot questions because they ask you that. They wanted me to ask this while we're at the dinner table. So first question,
all right.
Favorite video game?
Favorite video game? That's something I'm not too much into, but my son he loves it. So if you're going to ask my favorite video game, it's going to be something baseball.
Okay. Favorite food?
Favorite food is chicken strips, fried. Is they can be, and if you got Nashville hot, throw that on there too.
Pineapple belong on pizza?
Pineapple on pizza? No.
Okay. Favorite cartoon?
Favorite cartoon? I'd have to say Dennis the Menace, and your kids probably don't have a clue what that is.
I don't. One asked me favorite Bible verse.
Favorite Bible verse is going to be First Peter 5:2. That's the Guardian's verse, talking about shepherding the people and keeping an eye on them.
Awesome, man. And what if you could sleep in or have to get up? What would you choose? Sleeping in or?
I'm going to get up.
Yep.
I'm going to get up. Now, I do like to sleep in a little at times, but, man, I don't like losing the day. Now, I will nap, though.
Favorite breakfast food?
Woo. Biscuits and sausage with gravy on top.
Awesome. There you go. I'll just show that part. So, who is your favorite wrestler and why?
Favorite wrestler now or just?
All throughout, whatever. Your just all-time favorite.
Yeah. Oh, man. See, I grew up with the Von Erichs.
Okay.
My dad would take us on Saturday mornings to see world-class championship wrestling at the Sportatorium. So a lot of my dealings with wrestling came from then. Okay. But I would say all-time favorite wrestler. Man, I got to think about that. And I knew you were going to ask that question. It's not like this is a surprise or anything.
Right.
I'm going with Kamala.
Okay.
He as a kid, he terrified me.
Yeah.
We would go, and I remember we're going to the bathroom one time, and he's coming through the entrance, and I think I almost wet my pants and held onto my dad's leg like it was crazy. But, man, I love that guy, and I love watching him wrestle even all the way up till he was in WWE.
So Adam Pankanon, I don't know, Iceman King Parsons. Does that?
Yeah, that's my brother. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
The Guardian said so. So, you talked about the Detroit venue being of that conference. So, what was the coolest venue or location that you wrestled in, and why was that?
I'm gonna have to say that that trip we just took to Louisiana to the boys camp.
Okay.
There is nothing like 400 boys under a pavilion when it's almost 100 degrees and 80% humidity. That part was not fun, but it was so loud. I wrestled the Mountain. Mountain is 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", a whole lot bigger than me, and 600 pounds.
Wow.
And those kids loved him from the moment he walked out of his car up until the very moment we left. And I was in the ring. I was announced first. I talk about this all the time. I was announced first, and I'm standing in the corner when Mountain starts coming out. They had flames like lining the walkway outside. And I see this humongous dude going back and forth. And it was so loud. My ears were ringing. I mean, I've never experienced anything like my insides were shaking.
Wow.
And that was we have that on our YouTube as well. And the video itself doesn't do justice how loud those kids were. But you can imagine 400, I think they were like 8 to 13-year-old boys.
Yeah.
And they all scream like girls. Yeah.
That is crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So in your wrestling career and in life, what was the best advice you've ever gotten?
Best advice I've ever gotten. The best advice I've ever gotten in life, and I've used it in my career, and I give it to people all the time, is understand you're going to make mistakes. Be willing to own up and accept your mistakes and move forward from your mistakes. Don't get stuck in them. Don't beat yourself over it. You're going to mess up. In life, we are going to mess something up at some point, and we just need to be able to accept that. Accept it, take responsibility, and move forward so that hopefully it doesn't happen again. But if it does happen again, guess what? You're going to have to accept it,
right? Take
responsibility and move forward.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Who is the most experienced or well-known, or who's the most experienced in the wrestler you've faced?
Most experienced, of course, Tim Storm. Had a couple good matches with Tim Storm. He would have to be the most experienced. But Malik Blade in NXT, before he went to NXT, he did some shows with us, and we had some tag matches together. So that would be probably the quote unquote most famous, maybe. Okay. But most experienced would be Tim Storm for sure.
How about biggest rival? You're a heel, so you got to have somebody after you.
Man, the Bible Club at CWF, I can't stand them. We even had a baby that we called the Bible Club baby. So
I'm gonna get in trouble because I want one of them damn shirts because that shirt looks sick. So yeah, don't hate on me, man.
Hey, I'm sure it does. I'm not going there in this. I love those guys legitimately, but Heart's Legacy Bible Club for 4 years have always been a feud. We'll see if it fires back up here soon, but yeah, that's always been our top rival.
So you're aligned yourself with the Heart Legacy. So can you talk about that tag team that you guys have formed?
It's the best one. I mean, there's not really much else to say. Ryan Hart has been in the business, as y'all know. He was on last week for, I think, 18 years now, 16, 18 years. I can never remember for him. And when I was coming in, I was training. He was just coming back from his little hiatus he took. And me and him connected on a friendship level pretty quick. And this is going to be funny. I shouldn't even say this, but Johnny had talked to me, and Johnny Lawless had talked to me about joining the Bible Club. And that was kind of intriguing. And we were at a show. I was still not wrestling. I was just ring breakdown and stuff. And Ryan Hart came to me and he gave me this idea that he had. And it was me and him, me and Hills, the top Hills, just be as, mean and nasty as we can be to everybody. And I loved it. I was sold, and that's where it started. And it's been very successful ever since.
So you threw out the name Johnny Lawless. I think he's going to be on the show next week. So if you had to say something to Johnny Lawless, what would it be?
Oh, brother. Love the guy to death. But it's time for him to hang it out. He's done. Bible Club's done. It's all over with. His time has come and gone. It's time to hang it up.
All right. There you go, Johnny Lawless, if you're watching. There you go.
And if he's not now, he will be.
If he's not now, he will be. So. And, I'm going to give you the opportunity at the end of the show to be in character and send us off the right way. So if you can put him in there, I don't care, whatever. So we talk about ring setup, and I know in the Indies, I know you guys stay local because you're with CWF, and I applaud that for staying with one company. That's awesome. So, but you go to shows. How important is it for you wrestlers to be involved in the setup and teardown of the ring? And does that show commitment, or do you guys have a setup team, or how's that go?
No, it takes all hands on deck for us because our monthly shows are at our facility. It's kind of our studio, so there's no setup for that other than putting some chairs out. But we do an awful lot of travel shows, whether it be local, across the state, across the, wherever, across the country, wherever it is. And when we do a travel show and we have to not only set up the ring, but break it down. And if all those guys aren't helping, it's miserable. And, for the most part, all of them do. And it's just one of those things that even though I've, quote unquote, you could say I paid my dues, I'm still going to go out there and I'm going to make sure it gets set up. I'm going to lift it, lift the heavy stuff and things like that. Now, if we have plenty of young kids and young new people that will do most of the heavy lifting and we just make sure we tie everything down, I'll do that too. I'm not going to lie to you, but at the same time, everybody has to, if you don't know and participate in ring setup breakdown, then you're missing out because, once you realize how hard that is, you have a better respect, especially those companies that may have people that actually do that. You'll have a better respect for how hard that is. It's not easy.
So how important is the communication back behind the curtain, the ref, and you wrestlers? How important is the gel of that to make the match that much more?
It's crucial. When you're in that ring, you all got to be on the same page. If you're not, that's where people get hurt. And mistakes are going to be made. That's just part of the business. But when it comes to ignorant mistakes, things that shouldn't be mistakes, and somebody gets hurt, then it's not a good day. And that includes the ref. The ref has to be a part of the whole match so that they don't slap that hand down on 3 when they think they're supposed to and realize they just screwed everything up. So every time we go through shows or go through a match, the ref's going to be there. We're going to make sure they've got it just as much as we make sure we have it. And, it takes everybody. Not only that, but you got your sound and your camera, and everybody has to understand what's going on, or you're not going to have a successful show. You may there live, but we video and publish all of our stuff. So you got to make sure everything's, on board.
Awesome, man. So I didn't realize, I thought it was just CWF, but now I realize that there's CWF and there's CWF West Texas.
That's
Can you explain the differences between those two, or is it all combined?
The only difference is that Shiloh, Mike Watt, he was one of the originals or very early CWF guys. And then him and his family were, I think he got a job transfer out to the Lubbock area.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked Rob if he could start a CWF West Texas branch. And so he did. It is a much smaller group of guys than us. We have 30 to 40 where they may have 10.
Okay.
A lot of our guys here in CWF Rockwall, when they have shows, there's several of us. I did for a while whenever I had the time, but we'll go out there and work their shows with them. Because, when they only have 5 or 6 wrestlers, they need some more. Yeah. But a lot of our refs will help them. A lot of our wrestlers will go out and help them. So we are one. We're just in 2 completely different parts of the state, and we will bring those guys in. Like our anniversary show, Shiloh actually came back and wrestled Phil Bishop. So we're connected, but we're just in 2 different parts of the state.
Awesome. So before I forget, thank you for your service as a police officer, sir. That's awesome, man. Let's talk about your titles that you've held or you still hold. CWF Tag Team Champions. What was that?
Yeah.
Let's talk about those.
That was fun. Of course, it took us some work to get there, but we finally we finally got those tag team champion or the tag team belts, and we held those for a while. Of course, we lost those to Tim Storm and APOC, which, I mean, somebody's going to take them from me. I'm okay with that, and I'm not currently the interdenominational champion. I lost that in our tables match. And not happy about it, but Justin James is the current. However, I am the longest reigning. So I've held that belt longer than anybody in CWF so far. And then I can't really, I don't know how to say this. I'm not really going after it, being that my tag partner is the CWF champion. But at some point, that's going to be on my waist too. It's just, I want to give him his time, and then if somebody gets it from him, then I'll get it from them.
So if he has it, you're not going to go after it if he has it, correct? Or
no, we're too close. We've gone through way too much to throw it away for something.
You're a heel, man. You're a heel.
I know.
I think. Well, I'm
gonna be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. Even if I was, I wouldn't tell you, because then he could watch it and he'd know. So we're just gonna stay with. So
you're not gonna. Yeah, no. You're not gonna tell me. You're not gonna say, "Hey, guy, you better be watching out. You're watching your back."
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So you had a big event, a tag team tournament this Saturday, I believe. Can you take who came out on top of that?
Your favorite. The Bible Club took home the trophy, which is pathetic, but unfortunately, we got disqualified in the first round.
Not you.
Well, unfortunately, yes. But if you remember correctly, last week when and you can go watch the show, it's already up. But when Ryan Hurt was talking about how he outsmarted Johnny, yeah. Well, we got paid back this weekend. He tossed it back to me to use it with the ref's back turn. I was arguing with him not to use it, and our opponent saw me with it and decided to do the Eddie Guerrero.
Wow.
So I turn around, listening to what the bump was, and when I turn around, the ref turns around, and I'm holding the bat, and he DQs me. But I didn't, it's a bunch of crap, but that's all right. We'll get him back.
So you participated in some strongman competition. You still train for that, or is it just something that part is done?
I have not. Now I'm not going to say it's done, because I'd love to get back into it. It's a hard thing to train for, because you got to have the right equipment. But kind of when I was getting started in the business, I took a nasty injury to my shoulder. And at the same time, my brother, who kind of got me into it, he was the main one that I could kind of get hints from. He was big time in strongman, and he was preparing for a fire truck lift and doing some practice pulling a truck, and his Achilles tendon snapped. And so neither one of us have really got back into the training. But, man, it's just so much fun, because I love lifting heavy stuff. I don't know why, but it's just something I like to do. So I'm not in the strongman, but I'll pick these guys up and lift them over my head or whatever, and I still get a little bit of that fun doing it that way.
Awesome. So I appreciate your time, sir. I know your Bible studies are coming up. Can you tell a little bit, before I let you go, a little about your testimony and what brought you to God and what brought you to where you're at?
Yeah. So, man, I grew up in church. Went to church every Sunday, and I've always believed Jesus is who he is. But, you get out of high school and you're going to do your own thing. So you don't really walk that path. I never really turned on him at that point, but then law enforcement, it took a toll on me, and I wouldn't say I necessarily turned on him, but I wanted nothing to do with him. There was a lot of things that happened in a span of my lifetime that didn't make sense to me. And what do we all do? We tend to get mad at God. And, I was getting on fire for God. And, like a few weeks later, my best friend died just out of nowhere, had not a heart attack, but died in the shower, 40 years old. And it rocked my world. And I just said, you know what, I'm done with all that. Look what, it's typical. I look at all this. I was all hot for the Lord, and now this happens. Yeah, whatever. And I went through a good stint, probably 5 or 6 years, pretty upset at God, struggling with PTSD. And it really was that when I was in the hospital, that was the difference. And I told you earlier, I didn't expand on it, but I told you earlier how when my family left, I wouldn't go to sleep. And I wouldn't go to sleep I didn't go to sleep. Not till somebody got there. I didn't go to sleep because I was afraid I wouldn't wake up. And it wasn't until once I got into CWF and things started making sense and I started following Jesus a little bit closer, I was scared that I wasn't going to wake up because at that point I didn't know where I was going. And through CWF and these guys and these mentors, reading the Bible, studying the Bible, and just fully, for really the first time in my life, digging into what the Bible says and what Jesus has done for us.
Right.
Man, I just I still have stress, don't get me wrong, but I don't let the little things bother me anymore because there's nothing I can do to control them. And, it was about a 1.5 2-year transition with Bible study with these guys, and man, it just clicked. And so now I just can't get enough of it. But I also am very, very big on mainly teens, but anybody. We are real bad about when bad things happen, we start turning away because why would he do bad stuff to us?
Yep.
Kids, teenagers, I read a study where by the age of 13, 70% of kids have walked away from the faith. 13 years old.
Wow.
Whether their parents know it or not, they're done with it. With what's left, those kids, the first year of college, another 70% are gone. And so here's the thing. I think we as Christians have missed the mark, not just with kids, but on explaining Christianity as a whole. Mm-hmm. It's not believe in Jesus and your life will be hunky-dory. It's believe in Jesus, your life's not going to be hunky-dory. It's still going to be tough. It's probably going to get tougher. The thing about it is you have somebody to rely on and lean on through these tough times, and you're not alone. You don't have to fight it by yourself. Right. We don't do that. We tell them, say this prayer and your life's going to be peachy and you're going to go to heaven. And when life's not peachy, because it will not be, then they do what I did and they get mad because if I do all this and he's still punishing me, well, he doesn't punish us. Right. He's always there to get us through something. He doesn't. One of my old pastors said this, and it's always stuck with me. God doesn't put us through things to get stuck in them.
Right.
He puts us through them to get through it with him.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing that I really, really try to hone in on with any new believer that I talk to is that when you do this, life ain't peachy clean. It's still going to be rough. And it's probably going to be rougher because Satan's coming after you now. But hold firm and stand with him, and he's going to get you through it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. You said a lot there I could talk about. But control. We're not in control. Let the little things, and that's the same thing what's going on in my wife and I's life with our son and my daughter-in-law, it's like, I'm not in control of that. It's on him. It's on her.
Yep.
I just need to pray for my grandbabies that they continue to be safe, so.
That's right.
And you get so frustrated and so upset, and I woke up this morning and go, you know what? I can save this. My grandbabies are safe. Everything else they need to take care of.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. So I appreciate that. I appreciate your sharing the story. So the time has come, man. The Guardian. Do you have anything to say to the fans, your opponents? Where can we find your merch if you have any? What's next? The floor is yours, man.
I currently do not have merch. There will be some coming soon. We've had some tag team merch, but there's currently no Guardian merch, but there will be soon. I'll just say that. Fans, I love them, but I don't need them. I don't need them because all they do is boo me and scream at me and think I'm cheating whenever I'm not cheating. If I was cheating, the ref would tell me I'm cheating, and they're all delusional. Where I go from here, there's only one way to go, and that's going to have that CWF belt on my shoulder, around my waist. And yeah, I do say that with my tag partner currently holding it, and that's not saying I'm coming after him for it. I'm just saying that somebody's going to get. I just need one opportunity, and the belt will be mine. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Next,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
As Braun Strowman would say, here's these hands, right?
I have to stop myself a lot from saying you're going to get these hands, because I do not want to be a copycat.
Right.
But a lot of times they get these hands, and one of my favorite things to do is light somebody up with a chop. And you can go watch our tag team show. That cute Rodzilla tried to chop me, and all it did was make me mad. And so I showed him what a real chop was. Now the fans heard it too, and just go watch it. But I like to make sure that my hand almost goes inside their chest as best as I can. But coming from me, you're gonna get what you get. You're gonna get. I'm up front, and right off the bat that I don't like you. It's not going to be any secret. I'm not going to play nice. But just keep coming back, because you never know what's going to happen.
Thank you, sir. So that's Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Thank you, Guardian. Stay on. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to meet you in the lobby, but I appreciate your time. Huge Pop Wrestling fans, thanks for whoever's in the chat. Like, follow, subscribe to the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast, and we'll see you later, guys.
See y'all.